afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Season 2 of Midday with Trey. I'm your host, Trey. Let's get right into the show. Let's get right into it. Today's guest is a newly promoted associate professor in the Spadoni College of Education and Social Sciences. Let's give it up for Dr. Tiffany Hollis. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Trey.
Yeah, so if we could start off by telling the audience just like a little bit about your background, where you're from and how you got to where you are today.
Okay, so I am from Gaffney, South Carolina. I actually was born in Connecticut, but raised in Gaffney, South Carolina. That is my hometown. That is where I graduated high school. Yay, Indians, Gaffney High Indians. And then after leaving Gaffney High, I went to Davidson College in Davidson, North Carolina. No, I did not graduate with Steph Curry. I am much older than Curry. However, a great young man, awesome legacy that he's paved there at my alma mater. So yes, after leaving Davidson, I went on to get 2 master's degrees. One from UNC Charlotte and one from Columbia College in Columbia, South Carolina, and followed up with pursuing my PhD at UNC Charlotte, which brought me here to Coastal Carolina as an assistant professor of foundation curriculum and instruction. I also teach special education courses as well.
So can you tell us how you first got into higher education, like where your passion for that started?
So I was not going to go into higher education. I actually had a professor at UNC Charlotte that said, you would make a great professor, you should do the professoriate. And I said, don't want to do that. I really want to do, because at the time I was teaching in Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and Cabarrus County schools with students with emotional and behavioral disabilities, mental health issues. And so one of the things I wanted to do was be at the top of those positions or those organizations so that I could make some change at the bottom.
Right.
So from the top down, pretty much. And so I wanted that seat at the table. And initially I said, I don't want to go into professoriate, then a position open here at Coastal where it was for a professor of emotional and behavioral disabilities, which was my background.
Right.
So I applied, and when I applied, I asked, I said, well, since my PhD is in curriculum instruction with a focus on urban education from UNC Charlotte under Dr. Chance Lewis, I asked if I could also teach diversity courses. And so they agreed to let me teach diversity courses, so I came in as a special education professor, which allowed me to now teach teachers who were teaching the same population of students that I loved and enjoyed working with.
Right, okay.
So that brought me to higher education.
Right, yes. That's amazing. And what other jobs have you worked over the course of your career?
Ooh, a little bit of everything. I tell my students this all the time. I actually dropped out of my teacher education program in my college. It was my senior year at Davidson College. I was supposed to go and teach social studies, do my internship in social studies at North Mecklenburg High School in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I decided I didn't want to do that. And so once I left there, I went into human services positions and decided I wanted to make a change and affect change right then and right there. And I took a position at Urban Ministry Center, which was a day center for homeless neighbors in Charlotte, North Carolina. I did that for a little while, and while there, I met a young lady who had aged out of the foster care system. And she told me about some of the things she had gone through with her K-12 education.
Right.
And I said, well, if I can put myself in a position where I can kind of disrupt that and stop that from happening and break that cycle, that's what I'm going to do.
Right.
So I went on to teach at a level 5 day treatment facility. It was the highest, most restrictive environment for students with very severe behaviors.
And when you say levels, so it's one is the tame. I don't know if that's the right word. Most.
So level 5 is like it's a therapeutic facility, meaning that those students require a little more intense support and may have a couple people around the table regarding their treatment team to help them. Most of them also were adjudicated youth, so they were also in the juvenile justice facilities and were awaiting court dates and things like that. So I had some pretty tough students, loved every bit of that job, enjoyed it, and decided to go back and get my special education degree so that I could work there. They actually paid for me to go back, so I decided to pursue it and went into Charlotte Mecklenburg schools a couple of years later and did behavior-focused, self-contained resource and inclusion, which means basically that I would work with students with emotional and behavioral disabilities in the general education setting and also in a smaller setting, small group setting as well. Leaving there, I went to Concord, which is Cabarrus County Schools, and worked in a behavior-focused self-contained class there, K-5. So those are the jobs I've had mainly, and that's why when I was pursuing my PhD, I really wanted to continue to work with those students, but be in a position of power and authority where I could make some of those decisions to change their trajectories instead of having them be labeled or placed in those special education settings.
Right. I have a huge admiration for educators and teachers. My mom was also a teacher in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools.
Oh.
Yep,
I did not know that.
She was in pre-K, and I just saw her work her way up from teacher to director after director. Now she's over the whole pre-K for Charleston County Schools in Charleston, South Carolina. So I have a huge admiration just for the patience, the dedication, everything that goes into teaching. And I'm starting to see that working in higher education myself now, that like a lot goes into it,
yes.
but it also a lot comes back. Like I'm sure like you've seen I'm sure you've had stories of students who go on to do great things and look back and say, Dr. Tiffany Hollis, this is for you, or certain things like that. So it's very cool. Why do you think education is so important in marginalized communities?
So I know for me, it was my way out. It was my ticket out. I come from a very poverty-stricken household where my mom, so she did the best she could with what she had.
Right.
Didn't know my father growing up. My mother was a strong woman who worked a lot, did a lot there, and provided for us. But again, I knew that I wanted something different.
Right.
And so I knew if I continued my path for education, my mentor, who was my guidance counselor in middle school, started putting me in programs such as Upward Bound for low-income youth. She also put me in a science and math program at Claflin University. At the time, it was Claflin College.
Right.
And being exposed to those things kind of gave me an idea of what I eventually wanted to do, hence going on to Davidson College and getting a full ride, which, of course, my mom didn't have to pay.
Right.
So that was a plus for her. But the downside of that was she didn't want me to share some of the things that we had gone through at home and some of the things I had experienced because she thought that people were going to either say things or try to remove us from the home, things like that. But again, I shared my story because I felt like sharing my story with people who didn't understand would give them a chance to get to know who I am and get to know that I was more than just the number that they saw on the application. And so the admissions office at Davidson saw the potential and took a chance on me because, again, it's a very how can I put it, elite private institution, costs a lot of money. But again, they took a chance on me. And so every chance I get, I try to give back to Davidson College as much as I can because they saw the potential, they nurtured the potential, maximized it, and helped me to get to where I am now as Dr. Tiffany Hollis.
Right. That's amazing. Let's talk about your time here at Coastal. So you were involved in a variety of different things. Could you maybe go down a list of some of the organizations you're involved in here at campus and in the community?
Yes. So I am one of the advisors for Women of Color, which is a retention initiative here on campus. It's under the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and it's through the Office of Intercultural Inclusion Student Services, where Joshua Moore is the director. And so we meet on Wednesdays, and it's kind of a space for young ladies who are minoritized, particularly black and women of color. And we come together and just kind of talk about how to navigate being at a predominantly white institution, and also just have some real talk, things that we can actually, a space where we can actually just share. So I do that. I also am an advisor for the Call Me Mr. program. It's a program here that primes the pipeline of male educators, preferably black male educators, but there are also male educators of color who are enlisted and who join Call Me Mr. as well. And so I do that. That's also one of my how can I put this? One of my gems. One of the things I really, really love to do. And I also assist with the Social Justice Research Initiative here on campus. It's under the auspice of Dr. Debbie Perkins and Dr. Jamie McCauley. I joined them recently as the Director of Educational Equity Initiatives, which means I do a lot of partnerships in the school. So now I'm going to give you a rundown of the things I do in the community.
Let's do it.
So a lot of the things I do in the community, I am involved at Blackwater Middle. We do, it's kind of on hiatus right now, but we did a program called Mentoring Matters, where I took male educators over and we did some mentoring and some social skills and character education development with students there. Students who were whose names were given to us by their guidance counselor. So we worked with them, and then I also am a part of the School Improvement Council, School Improvement Team at Blackwater Middle, the Title I Advisory Board at Blackwater Middle. I also do some work at Conway High, where I work with the Rose program. It's a mentoring program for young ladies. We do that on Thursday afternoons. I take about 6 or 7 students from Coastal, male and female, because there's a Rise program and a Rose program, so male and female program. and we go over and do that as well. So pretty involved in the community. Last year, the most memorable aspect of being involved in the community was I won the Community Impact Award alongside Mayor Barbara Blaine Bellamy.
Congratulations.
That was amazing.
Yes.
And so that was just something that kind of put the icing on the cake that I'm doing some great things in the community. I'm also in the process now of trying to get a tutoring and mentoring program started at the Section 8 housing projects here in the area. So we're in works of that too. So I just do a lot in the community, try to fill gaps and see how we can leverage our resources as an institution of higher learning and help the community that has helped us so much. So kind of have a transformative partnership between Coastal Carolina and the community and have myself kind of be the liaison or the person in the middle.
That's amazing. Yes. Okay, so what do you think your favorite part of your current job is? You know, is it the students? Is it the work, the change that you get to make?
I would have to say coming to work every day and smiling, seeing the students every morning, like going into an 8 o'clock class and the students feeding off my energy. It's an 8 o'clock class, it's really early, but again, the students feed off my energy. Having people sometimes say, wow, I haven't had my coffee yet, you're really chipper. And I'm like, yes, I am, it's a great day. Teal Nation, shunt up. You know, they're like, hey. But I love seeing the students smile. I love seeing the light bulbs go off when students learn new things or when they venture out into using their critical thinking skills and learning things and researching things on their own and coming back and having those epiphanies. So I really appreciate seeing that. I appreciate lifting and empowering, seeing other students have an issue or come to me with something and I help them through it, but give them the skills so that they themselves can make the decisions and I'm just kind of there supporting them along the way. So that's the great part. I work alongside some great colleagues, working alongside faculty and staff. It's amazing around here at Coastal. Not to mention myself, who's with President Benson. Pretty cool. I used to do it with Dr. David DeCenzo prior to him leaving. And so Dr. Benson has kept up that tradition. And I really enjoy just us kind of chatting and talking and being more serious as well as just kind of having a good time too. So I appreciate that balance and just his overall leadership.
Okay. And final question, what advice do you have for students or, you know, maybe potential high school students who maybe want to get into the world of education?
So I would definitely say a lot of students are afraid to fail. Sometimes failure is a lesson that we can learn from because we'll learn how to get better. We'll learn what not to do, and we'll learn how to strive forward in spite of. And sometimes I think if you haven't experienced failure, then you don't know what success looks like. So sometimes there are students who feel as though if they don't get accepted to a college that they've applied to, and it's one of those things where I want students to make it their decision. There are some students who choose college because maybe their parent went to that school and they want them to be a legacy. There are students who choose a college because they like the colors of the shirts they wear, their mascots. And I want them to truly do the research when it comes to looking for a college that creates a sense of belonging, a sense of community, a sense of knowing that that is where you belong. And I tell people all the time, as far as college, I didn't choose Davidson College. Davidson College chose me. And as a result, I am really excited that they did choose me. And if I had to do it all over again, I would, again, choose them, knowing what I know now and knowing just the pedigree of education, things like that. And I know the same thing is happening here at Coastal in terms of becoming an institution of inclusive excellence and fostering that sense of belonging. We have a whole QEP around belonging. So I know that Coastal is going towards that, and I know more and more students will come here. As a matter of fact, my nephew actually is here. Jameson Tucker, he's number 82. He plays number 80. He's number 82 for Coastal Carolina football team. He plays here, and so seeing him come to Coastal and be a part of the Teal Nation and thrive as he has also just continues to help me realize the importance of promoting Coastal, getting more and more students to come to Coastal, letting students see that Coastal is truly a great institution.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. I was here for undergrad, now I'm here for working here, and now I'm also a grad student here. So I'm Coastal through and through, and especially Edwards through and through.
Bleed teal.
Yes, exactly. So I can definitely agree with that just because I came to Coastal not knowing exactly what I wanted to do, and I still don't know exactly what I want to do, but now I have a better idea, or now I have better people I can go to for advice that I would not have had access to if I was at a larger institution. Just me personally, just because sometimes in large institutions, I feel like you can get lost, because that's what I was looking at, when I was looking at other colleges. Like, yes, they have more technology, or maybe they have more money, but what's the connection like with the professors? Is it, one teacher per 500 students, or is it one teacher per 20 students like it is here? Right. So that's what really made my impact of coming to Coastal, but it was a no-brainer, and I would not, like you said about Davidson, I would not choose anything else. No matter how much people think it's a party school, any school can be a party school if you party.
Exactly.
So I don't know what that means. Anyway, but that concludes the interview section, but we have a section on the show that we're trying out for this season. It is called Rapid Response, and so I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And each of those 3 questions, you have to give 3, so it's like categories. So you have to give 3 items in each of those categories. And we have a leaderboard, so I'm going to time you. And if you, whoever, you got to say it as fast as you can.
Response.
Yeah, a rapid response. Are you ready?
I have this motto: if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So let's go. Let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it. Okay. The timer will start after I read the first question. Name 3 buildings on Coastal's campus.
Singleton, Prince, Athenaeum.
Okay. Name 3 student organizations here at CCU.
Women of Color, AIM. Oh gosh, wait a minute. Student organizations, Women of Color, AIM, Call Me Mister.
Okay, and name your top 3 favorite foods.
Fried chicken, chicken, steak, shrimp, potatoes, so anything surf and turf, and lots and lots of potatoes.
Okay.
Anything with potatoes.
You got 24.87. We're going to put that on the leaderboard and see what happens at the end of the season, which is the end of the
semester. I don't know, because
I'm
involved in so many.
So it's hard to choose from.
Right.
All right, and let's get into the hat of the week. So what hat do you have? What hat did you bring to the show today?
Well, I actually brought my Chanticleer hat. So throughout the school year, I turn into Dr. Tiffany Hollis.
Okay.
That is my trademark. I joke all the time and say, you have Chauncey, you have Maddox, and then you have me.
Right.
And so I love wearing my hat. I love wearing my teal wig sometimes, and just turning into Tiffany. And being that fun person, having a good time at different events, homecoming, or different games, or even the pep rallies and different things we do. Not pep rallies, but the alumni tailgates that we do. So I love doing that. So I have my Chanticleer hat.
And where did you get that?
Someone actually gave me this hat.
Did they?
So someone told me about it, and someone heard me talking to them about the hat, and the next thing I know, it was gifted to me.
It was gifted to you.
Yes, and then I heard that our former coach, Mr. Jamie Chadwell, had one, and so I was like, what?
What did you do?
Yeah, who wears it better, Tiffany or Jamie, right? So.
That is great. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Dr. Tiffany Hollis, one of a kind, of course. Make sure you guys follow all of our social media pages. Of course, they're down below: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We got all that. And I will see you guys same place, same time next week. You know what it is. Midday with Trey, Season 2. Bye.